In this video, you'll learn how to scan a file for viruses in Python using the Cloudmersive Advanced Virus Scan API. This API investigates files for viruses and malware, and it also checks for insecure content using deep content verification. As a quick note, you will need at least a free tier Cloudmersive API key to use this service, which you can get by creating a free account on the Cloudmersive website. I will be making my API calls in Visual Studio Code on an Azure Virtual Machine, and I'll be demonstrating API requests with both a clean PNG file and an iCar virus test file. I'm starting from a mostly blank Python file to make my API call, but note that I've already imported another file I created just to pass my API key in later on. To get the code and documentation you need to get started after creating your Cloudmersive account, you can head to the Cloudmersive API Console and navigate to the Virus API page. This console provides code examples and documentation for all Cloudmersive API paths. Under the Advanced Scan a File for Viruses path, you'll find information about all the different threats the Advanced Scan API scans files for. At the bottom of the Advanced Scan path window, you can click on the Python programming language icon to bring up Python code examples. You can then click on the Install Python SDK dropdown, which gives you the command you need to install a Virus API client library in your environment. After you copy this snippet, you can head to your IDE and run the command in your terminal to install the client library. When installation is finished, you can go back and copy the code examples that use the client library. All the necessary imports are included at the top. Note that you might not need the first two imports in your project, but I'm going to copy those anyway in this example. You can now paste these code examples in your IDE. You'll notice right away that the booleans are formatted incorrectly with lowercase first letters, and you can fix that quickly by using Ctrl-H to replace each instance of lowercase true with uppercase true. I'm also quickly going to move my API key class import below my print function import so that it doesn't cause an error later on. In the initial configuration snippet, you'll notice there's a placeholder string here to pass your API key into. After you copy the API key available on your Cloudmersive account, you can paste that directly in here, or you can pass it in from a method call as I'm doing in my example. Below this, the next block of code creates an instance of the API class and sets the file path you're scanning to a variable called input file. To keep things simple in this demo, I've saved my test files on the same path as the rest of my code. I'll be scanning a simple PNG image file first. The try except block at the bottom of this code calls the API instance and prints custom error messages using the API exception class we imported. Before I demonstrate an API call, I'll quickly explain the API call structure. This API scans files for viruses and malware using signature-based scanning, heuristics, and other techniques, but it also verifies file contents. That means it analyzes a file's internal contents and structure to determine what type of file it is, rather than blindly trusting the extension. If you keep allow executable set to true, for example, you're telling the API not to flag files with executable extensions and executable contents. If, for another example, you keep allow invalid file set to true, you're telling the API you're fine with malformed content or content with the incorrect file extension. Further, if you leave the restrict file types parameter set to its default text, you're enabling a whitelist that starts with the example text here. I'm not going to change any of these flags in my first API call, and I'm going to run my code now. But I'll need to adjust the file type restriction shortly, and you'll see why. As you can see here, I got a nicely structured JSON object response thanks to the pprint library we imported earlier. At the top of that response, you can see that my file got a clean result false result, which means it isn't safe for some reason. If I look down my response a bit further, you can see that the contains restricted file format field is set to true. I'm going to fix this for my next API call by deleting the example text in the restrict file types parameter and leaving it as an empty string. Looking back at my response, you can also see that the API recognized my file contained an image and that it listed the verified file format as PNG, because it was indeed a valid PNG file. Now I'll run this one more time with the same file path and with 0 restricted file types. As you can see, the response now tells us the file is clean while verifying the same information it gave us about the file before. Now I'll replace the image file path with my icar test file path, and I'll run the code once again. This time, I got another clean result false response, but the reasoning was very different. The found viruses array has populated with the actual file name, and the virus name was listed as well. Even though I passed a text file in my request, there's no verified file format in my response. And that's all there is to it. You can easily use this API to protect your Python applications from a really wide range of malicious file uploads. And you can customize which types of content your application sees as a threat. If you have any questions after following along with this video, please feel free to contact a member of our team and they'll be happy to assist you.